All right, so this is pretty great for the Vancouver Canucks. Today, we are talking about an update that we had received from Cam Robinson earlier this morning. Pretty sure most of y'all are familiar with Cam, either from his work with Dobber Prospects or the fact that he is the content director and director of film scouting at Elite Prospects. Cam is one of the best minds in the prospect business side of hockey. And when it comes to one of the best Vancouver Canucks prospects right now, Robinson has been told that negotiations between the Canucks and top D-man prospect Tom Willander are ramping up. It appears the most likely outcome, time permitting, is that Tom Willander signs and sees NHL action down the stretch to cash his signing bonus and have a year burned off of his ELC. Willander and BU play this morning in their do-or-die match against Ohio State. Now, time permitting is the important thing, and I still feel comfortable making this video even if the BU Terriers defeat Ohio State, because right now, at the time of me speaking into this microphone, the game is tied 3-3 at the end of the second period. There's still one more period to go. If Ohio State wins, then BU is out, which opens the door big time today for Tom Willander to potentially sign a contract, or maybe tomorrow, something like that. That's why I feel comfortable making this video in the way that we are making it, because if Willander and the BU Terriers continue in the NCAA tourney, and they defeat Ohio State today, they win in the third period, they end up getting a few more games next week or whatever, a lot of the information here can still apply, because we can still talk about Willander as a player that can come over to Vancouver and play. But if we head back over to Cam Robinson's tweet, it does seem like Willander and his representation, they have started and ramped up negotiations with the Vancouver Canucks. There are some replies in this Twitter thread asking, hey, I thought they can't negotiate until the season is over. Cam says, nope, he is permitted to speak with the team that owns his rights. There also is a conversation here. How much negotiation is really there? Does it basically come down to whether Vancouver wants to burn a year of his ELC? Bonuses and burning the ELC year will be the big things. Each side might have to bend to find common ground. We may see a higher bonus structure and they don't burn a year, or vice versa. Ultimately, though, Tom Willander is a guy who this season for the BU Terriers may not absolutely stand out in terms of point production. He was never going to do that, even at the World Juniors, for example. He didn't lead the tournament in points like Axel Sandin Pellikka did. But Tom Willander this season has 22 points in 35 games played. Not that bad. Of course, not Quinn Hughes, Cale Makar, Lane Hudson level, but it is still fine. But ultimately, what makes Tom Willander so effective is just the way that he plays the game. He is a mobile two-way defenseman who really takes that two-way defenseman label to heart. He is not a purely offensive dude, but he is just a solid all-around option. So much so that even during the World Juniors, some folks were going out there and saying that Axel Sandin Pellikka, while he may have had more points than everybody else on the team, you could debate that Tom Willander was a better defenseman and a better, more valuable piece on that blue line than ASP in certain situations of this tournament and in certain games in general. This is what Cam goes out there and talks about here. Interested to see in how Willander's game will translate. I was surprised the Canucks took him. What is your projection, Cam? He's a dependable second-pair defender capable of playing in any situation. Craig Button has been a very big fan of Willander, frequently comparing him to Charlie McAvoy on the Boston Bruins. And this is the thing about Charlie McAvoy. He also did spend an extended amount of time in the NCAA post being drafted. He wasn't immediately on the Boston Bruins. He also happened to have been drafted in a similar range to where Willander was taken in the 2023 NHL Entry Draft. But Charlie McAvoy, after finishing up his Boston University stint in the NCAA, this was his Draft Plus 1 year. Willander is currently in his Draft Plus 2. McAvoy debuted with the Boston Bruins in the playoffs and had 3 points in 6 games. Sure, they lost in the first round, but that's a really good metric for a guy who was essentially a rookie. Half a point a game in the playoffs, making his debut and making an impact? Thinking Cale Makar light here for Tom Willander? Okay, the Canucks would need to make the playoffs first, but ultimately, with Vancouver being in a spot where their playoff hunt is extending into the next few weeks here. They're still relevant in the conversation of playoff contention. They have the game tomorrow against the Blue Jackets, then they have 3 games next week, 4 games the week after that. There still is ample time for Tom Willander to help out this team. Even if he doesn't help them make the playoffs, if the Canucks eliminate themselves by losing the next 3 games, Tom Willander can still come in and have a meaningful impact in the remaining 8-ish games of the year. There still are enough games for the Vancouver Canucks to get a meaningful sample out of Tom Willander and what he can do at the National Hockey League level. Because he's already a really reliable, stable, offensively capable, mobile guy whom, if you wanted to project a Charlie McAvoy-like potential ceiling onto, you're absolutely looking at somebody who probably could play top 2 minutes. Maybe he's a top 2 on a bad team, but on a top 4 Stanley Cup championship team, he's maybe a really, really solid number 4 or a great number 3. But the interesting thing about these kinds of guys is, I feel like they have a lot less of a transition to go through before they make the show. We see some guys who absolutely explode onto the scene. The Makars, the Hugheses, the Hudsons, the Adam Foxes. We see some guys who eventually grow into that. I think Filip Hronek is a great example, and his development in Detroit. But for offensive guys, that's more so what you would see here. Either you're really good off the bat, or it takes you a while to get going. I feel like for stable two-way guys, they don't really need too much time to eventually become effective, because you're not expecting Willander to score Quinn Hughes-like production. You're just expecting him to play meaningful, defensively minded, solid hockey, and for the most part, he does that. So for the Vancouver Canucks to acquire this guy this year, have him play at the end of the season, whether that's in a playoff race or not, that's super valuable. That's a really big add for the team. The question is, though, who do you take out of this lineup? Because Hughes, Hronek, you're not going to move those guys. Marcus Petey, you just re-signed. He's going to stay there. You have Tyler Myers on the other side. And then you got Mancini, Forbort, and Elias Pettersson. Do you want to go out there and add Tom Willander and take out Derek Forbort, who has been a lot more clutch than we had expected him to be? Or a Tyler Myers, who has been kind of strong lately as well? You're not benching Hughes, Hronek, or Marcus Pettersson, so is Elias Pettersson the odd guy out? And what does this mean for next year? If you have Elias Pettersson, Victor Mancini, and Tom Willander all in your decor, that's essentially 3 rookies on the blue line next year. I'm not against the idea, because I think they're all capable of playing the minutes. It's just, what are the optics of that? Do you willingly give up on a Tyler Myers or a Derek Forbort because you would rather have these younger dudes? I personally would bite the bullet and say, hey, go with the youth and give them their exposure, but that's just me. You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Tom Willander and the Vancouver Canucks potentially signing him within the next little while here, depending on what happens with BU and Ohio State? If I reload the page here, we can see, BU scored. It's 4-3 now. Okay, so they're probably going to win. Let's just assume they win. Even if they win, we can still have this conversation and we can still talk about Tom Willander signing soon. But for now, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Vancouver Canucks and how Tom Willander contract negotiations seem to have picked up. Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.